Well, the good news is the road trip is over. Welcome
That's
to,
one way to spend a Saturday night, right?
at least it was an early game. Welcome to
There you
Afterburner,
go.
everybody. I'm Ryan Pike from FlamesNation.ca, and I'm joined by the Mike Sillinger of Flames-related online media, Kent Wilson, who is, if you can name an online property where you could read or otherwise consume Flames-related content, Kent Wilson has probably worked there and produced good content at some point. So I guess
Yeah,
I don't know. Is Mike Sillinger the right way of describing you?
I'll take it. Yeah, I've been
You're
called worse.
you're the Scott Wedgwood of Flames related content. You just go where you're needed.
That's right.
Always in demand. Speaking of the Calgary Flames, we're hoping to get a better outcome this evening. So if you're just joining us, welcome. This is Afterburner, brought to you by the lovely people at Bet365. And I have a piece of paper. I got to make sure I read coherently. Bet365, the world's largest sports betting platform. Open an account with Bet365 and bet on a huge range of markets. Download the app today and use the code NATION when signing up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And Kent, we just completed I wouldn't even call it ordinary. It was kind of a peculiar 4 games over 6 days for the Calgary Flames. They played on Monday and they lost. They played on Wednesday. They lost. They played an afternoon game on Friday, also a loss. And then they completed the cycle with a loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins here on Saturday evening by a 6-2 score. Well, let's look at the positives here.
Okay.
They scored. So there was they avoided narrowly being shut out for the second time this season. It appeared that nobody was injured during the game. They appeared to begin the game with and end the game with the same complement of players available to them. Those are 2 positives. And
yeah, you're really digging deep here.
I
That
don't
was
know.
a nice assist for Kadri. That was I'll compliment him on that play.
Nice. Yeah, it was one of those games where you kind of figured the Flames might be in for it. There are times where teams get, as we affectionately call it, goalied, where you're playing well, you're doing what you can, and then you hit a goalie that you need to do some funky business in front of to get pucks past him. And the Flames are a team that has a mixture of veteran players and younger players, and the younger players have typically been more noticeable. The older players this evening, I think, were decent, but not until, checking my notes,
last 5 minutes,
44, 50 something minutes into the game. Like it was, well, let's go through the scoring summary, folks, and I'll let you know what I mean. Okay. So the first period was, as Kent mentioned before we went on air, not bad for the Calgary Flames. They were playing their second game in as many nights as were the Penguins. The Flames had played on Friday and then traveled, as had the Penguins. The Flames were coming off a loss in Columbus and then hopped on a short plane ride to the scenic Pittsburgh area. And the Penguins beat the Boston Bruins and then hopped on a plane and flew home. And so the Flames actually beat the Penguins home. The Flames were in their beds at a hotel before the Penguins are back in their comfy beds at home. So the Flames theoretically had an advantage here. I don't know. We use the phrase scheduled loss to describe a situation where one team is rested, the other team is playing on back-to-back nights. I guess technically this was a scheduled loss for neither team. Maybe if you want to give, if you want to exercise some kind of advantage, it was probably the home team. So maybe a slight advantage to Pittsburgh. But, I'm pretty sure if you looked at the betting markets, the Flames and Penguins are probably sawing off about even. Home teams are typically favored, but the Penguins have a much worse record than the Flames, so it's probably a coin toss. And the first period, it did not look like a coin toss. It looked like a Flames team that was kind of cranky about how poorly they played in Columbus, and they put a lot of shots initially on net. They ended up getting outshot in the period, and they ended up leaving the period with a deficit. But it wasn't for lack of trying. And we have a nice clip to show you. And the clip of this beautiful save probably encapsulates for the Flames the way the first chunk of the game went. Alex Nedeljkovic, who is playing, he's ostensibly the backup in Pittsburgh, he committed larceny, I'd say. I can't think of a nicer way to put it on Rasmus Andersson here.
This is all about second effort coming across. Oh, man. Anderson thinks he has a sure goal. It comes right off the backboards, right on Anderson's tape.
That's what I say.
Yeah, so like that was the Flames. Spoiler, ended up scoring 2 goals much later when the game was already decided and score effects were strongly in effect. But the Flames had a lot of that was probably their best chance. It was a chance that Nedeljkovic saw the whole way and could anticipate, but he still had to get over and still had to get his glove on it and still had to how do we say it, not pull a Dustin Wolf and have his glove too far back when he made the save and have it count by inches. They reviewed it very briefly. It did not count as a goal because it did not cross the line fully. But hell of a save.
Say their best chance was a wide open net, and they hit the post on it.
Yeah, they had a few. They had I think it was like a power play chance for Pospisil where he hit like firmly on the post, and then Greg Millen spent the rest of the. He spent a couple minutes just aghast that goal had not gone in. The Calgary Flames ended up getting scored on off of a. How do we say this? I would call it. I'm old, so I'm going to use a baseball reference. A Bill Buckner kind of play. Flames win an offensive zone faceoff. Puck goes back to Daniil Miramanov, but it bloops between his feet. Miramanov sort of gets turned around, chases the puck around, can never quite fully recover it. Michael Bunting steals the puck, passes over to Blake Lizotte, and I believe Anthony Beauvillier going in a 2-on-1. Poor Mackenzie Weegar can't quite block off the pass. And so the pass gets to Beauvillier. Beauvillier chips it over to Dan Vladar. It's 1-0. Not much Dan Vladar could do on that one, but it sort of set the tone. That was a late first period goal. Second period, the first of 3 power play goals by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Michael Bunting scores another weird one. Bunting scores with the I can't remember this. Was this a deflection? There's too many goals against in this game. They're all sort of blurring together for me, Kent.
Especially since there's so many power play goals too.
Yeah. Let me pull up my notes. So this goal, so it was Penguins win the face-off, clean, point shot by Grzelcyk gets stopped by Vladar, but he boots it right out to Bunting, and there's no one there to really box him out. So Bunting has, wide open net and a lot of time. He chips it in, 2-0. Another power play goal about 8 minutes later. This time, Chris Letang makes a really nice shot on Vladar. Vladar absolutely lays out, basically kills himself trying to make the save, lays out, basically you could sort of see his body language going, all right, I made the first stop. Can you guys clear it out or ice the puck or do something? And the problem was the Penguins had a bunch of black sweaters between, down below, and there's a lot of white sweaters stationary and going, see, are you getting it? Should I get it? Who's getting it? And so as a result, there's a couple of quick passes, and Philip Tomasino in his second game since being acquired from Nashville has a wide open net in about 9 years to get a shot off. So he could make a sandwich, read a book, and then get the shot off. And poor Dan Vladar would still be recovering from making his miraculous initial save. So Tomasino scores second power play goal of the period for the Penguins, makes it 3-0. Flames hit the intermission. They come out of the intermission 5 minutes into the third period. Kind of a nice play by Jake Bean. He's, Sidney Crosby coming in off the rush, but Jake Bean stays with him, kind of angles him out of the way. So the initial chance does not happen. Good work. Problem is combination of Bean doesn't tie up his man, and Ricard Raquel ends up getting a step ahead of Braden Pahal. And so Sidney Crosby, who's very good at hockey, gets a clean backhand pass over to Raquel. Raquel chips it up over Vladar, who went down, assuming the shot would be low because, quick shots tend to be kind of low. Hard to blame the goalie on that. Then it's 4-0. Second,
on that one, I wouldn't even say anyone on the Flames made a bad play.
It was a great
Crosby being Crosby, right?
Like,
that's just
maybe you're like, okay, maybe you're hoping Pahal can stick with this guy and either one of the defensemen tie someone up some way.
He wasn't even that far off.
But it was a hell of a pass though. Like it's hard to. Yeah. It was a hell of a play on both the pass and the shot. But with the way the game is going, you don't really want to tip any ass for the 4-0 goal. Then it becomes 5 5-0 off another power play goal, this time by Chris Letang. At this point, the Flames finally started doing a little bit of line shuffling. They swapped Andrei Kuzmenko and Jonathan Huberdeau, and almost immediately it paid some dividends. Really nice forecheck by Martin Pospisil on this play. Basically, maybe the Penguins thinking it's 5-0, let's go into cruise control, but they kind of got caught off guard by a Pospisil forecheck here in the first goal. Pospisil retrieves the puck, makes a nice pass to Nazem Kadri, and then he sets up this man, Jonathan Huberdeau, for his 8th of the year. And I believe we have a clip.
Second that thought. Flames looking for something late in Pittsburgh. Kadri in tight. Huberdeau scores! Huberdeau snuck it through, and right on cue, breaks the shutout.
Yeah, so that's if you're the Flames, the Flames have been, it's a few good things happen in this. A nice puck retrieval, a nice little bit of passing, and Huberdeau uses his speed to sort of get open. So it is a combination of things done well in that play, and then 38 seconds later, the same two gentlemen connect on another goal, the same line. This time, Kevin Ball with a very nice shot into a crowd of people, and I don't know what the Penguins defense was thinking of, like, oh, well, the first shot didn't go all the way through, so we're good, right? And this time, kind of resembling one of the power play goals the Flames allowed, the Flames had a lot of white sweaters around the puck and were able to make some stuff happen. So we'll throw the second goal here, and you'll see what I mean.
But when your margin of error is so small, they don't go in. Ball to the front. Kadri scores! Nazem Kadri with a big third period.
Yeah, so it's an old guy goal again.
The scramble.
Yeah, Kevin Ball making a nice simple play, throwing it to the net front area, and the Flames, they're old grizzled veterans, the two most expensive players in the team, combined for their second goal in less than a minute. So that's kind of good. So does that mean the Flames made a miraculous comeback? No, because Blake Lizotte scored late, with about 2 minutes left before they really even had a chance to pull the goalie. So I mean, at that point,
it's over.
It's over. No, not really much going on there. So the Flames dropped this one by a 6-2 score. They led for 0 minutes and 0 seconds. Their 6-game power play scoring streak is snapped. They scored 7 goals over the previous 6 games with a man advantage, but 0 tonight. Would have made a difference? Maybe, but they also extended their power play goals against. The opposition power plays have scored on the Flames for 5 consecutive games. And during that 5 games, they have 9 power play goals against the Flames. So a tale of two cities. The Calgary Flames, Kent, are a group that, bless their hearts, they got some trouble scoring 5-on-5. They have been, up until recently, a fairly stingy defensive group at even strength. And the thought would be, they don't score a lot at 5-on-5. They don't give up a lot at 5-on-5, though. Maybe the special teams will be the thing that allows them to keep the good times rolling. No, that's the opposite of what happened the last few games. And, I think they've allowed multiple power play goals in 3 of the last 4 games, which is not good. And so as a result, we're talking about a team that was riding high. They, a week ago, they had won 4 games in a row at home, often in dramatic fashion. And then this time, were these games particularly dramatic? Not really. They lost 3 out of 4 games they lost in regulation. The Detroit game was kind of a slog, but they managed to get a point out of it because, Connor Zary made a nice play on a power play. So good for him. But it was also a weird game where, I don't know if folks, if you followed Pinder and my performance last evening on Barn Burner, or an Afterburner rather, a weird face-off violation got the Flames a power play goal, and then a also kind of weird penalty on a too many men call that I believe super agent Alan Walsh called something along the lines of one of the worst calls he's ever seen.
Worst call he's ever seen.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is, the Flames were a team, I think, that they were rolling along by the grace of good goaltending and some timely goals from timely people, and then Have they gotten bad goaltending this week? I would argue no. Have the goaltenders been heroic? I would also argue no. Have they gotten much help from the other 18 guys dressed in front of them? And my answer would also be not really no. So I don't know. What have you made both of this game and of the last week of Flames hockey, Kent?
Well, I think the last time I was on here, it was with Cammie, and we were discussing, I think it was after their Minnesota win, and they'd had a couple of games in a row where they looked really good. But we were still discussing the fact that this team had enjoyed the best even strength goaltending in the league up until that point. And it's just like, that's really hard thing to bank on continuing indefinitely. So the PK being as bad as it is right now, and them taking a lot of penalties at the same time, and the even strength offense still being anemic, I mean, that's a killer combination for a club that can't have, it's a very small margin for error every night, right? They don't have the horses to do anything about games like this, right? So I don't think they're as bad as they look right now, but they certainly weren't as good as they looked with a 945 even strength save percentage, right?
I mean, even with this horrible week, they've dropped to second in the NHL in 5-on-5 save percentage, behind the powerhouse Minnesota Wild, which is a weird series of words placed together. Also, Kent, when you say they're anemic, that means lacking iron. Based on the performance I've seen tonight, they're rather high on iron. They need less iron because they hit a lot of they've hit a lot of posts this year, which I don't know. Maybe it's just we're acutely aware of the kind of things they've been doing this year, but it's I was at that game where Jonathan Huberdeau hit post on a wide open net, and I believe
literally an open net.
Either that night or the next day, Ryan Huska joked that he thought the puck was going the other way. They were going to score because that's the way
Murphy's
things
Law.
tend to go. So, I mean, thankfully that didn't happen in that game, because that would have just been, I imagine Huberdeau has nightmares about open nets in general now, but can you imagine turning into the next Patrick Stefan?
I don't, yeah. I mean, given what he's paid right now, it would just be water under the bridge, I think, with Huberdeau. But at least he scored, and that line did look good when they were put together tonight. I'm sure they're going to look for some positives. I'm glad that they started mixing stuff up. It actually didn't make sense to me that they kept sort of rolling out the same forward units all the time. I mean, there's been no
especially for
offense
all four
to speak
games.
of. So
for all four games,
so let's start mix it up a little bit here, because this combination just isn't working for you.
Now, before we'll talk more about mixing it up, but let's talk about some folks who've been mixing it up and our new sponsor of this fine program and also the website, our friends at Sober Carpenter. It's craft beer reimagined. This year, Sober Carpenter celebrates 5 years of brewing award-winning non-alcoholic craft beer. So from hoppy IPAs to rich Irish Reds, we've got the flavor without the buzz. Find Sober Carpenter at Sobeys and Loblaws, or delivered straight to your door at sobercarpenter.com. Cheers to 5 years of staying true to the craft. Sober Carpenter, crafted for those who sip differently. And I think what you want, Kent, is for the Flames to sip differently, so to speak, because I'll give them some credit. I'll give them some credit, especially the defensive pairings. We've talked off air about you wanting to see Braden Pahal moved up a bit, and I don't think that'd be a bad idea. But my other thing is, where is he really fitting? Because I would say the nice thing about Pahal is that you have a Braden Pahal who's he's such a good third pairing guy. He can, whoever you put with him, and they've given him like a turnstile of dudes who have various deficiencies. All due respect, Tyson Barrie, great offensive defenseman, has some holes. Jake Bean, kind of still figuring out what he is at the NHL level. He's never really clicked in the NHL the way he did in the AHL, the Western League. We saw him in Calgary extensively with the Hitmen. Very good junior player. He won a Calder Cup with Charlotte in the American League. Very good AHL defenseman. Just hasn't been able to put it together the way I think he or the teams employing him had hoped he would. And then Joel Hanley, unfortunately, got clobbered last game. It sounds like he's doing better, hopefully, but you don't want to mess with the human brain. So hopefully he's feeling better, because that there's various injuries you just don't want to mess with, and anything head related, I get nervous about. But Hanley is, bless his heart, like the inverse of Tyson Barrie, where he's a non-entity offensively, but he's super stable and reliable, and a metronome defensively. And that might be why he stayed in for as long as he did. He's just, you set it and forget it, and you just don't have to worry about him. And that's part of it, I think, is due to the influence of Pahal, because Pahal is just, he's not much to talk about offensively, but he's Mr. Glass and out. He tends to make good reads. Like, I think I didn't love his read on the Raquel goal, but I mean, that's a play that those two have probably made a zillion times in practice and in games, and good for them for pulling off. But you're also going, okay, but if you're the Flames, if you move Pahal up to, say, the Miramanov spot, okay, it kind of makes the top two pairs better. But generally speaking, I think that this team, asks a lot of both Rasmus Andersson and Mackenzie Weegar. And they're two gentlemen that may or may not be playing hockey for 2 weeks in February. And so they're already going to have a lot of miles on them this year in really hard, tough minutes. And they're probably going to have, at least one of them is going to have more minutes coming up in the Four Nations Faceoff. And so if anything, if you're serious about, even if you want to say, gosh darn it, make the playoffs by hell or high water, even if you just want them to be competitive, the competitiveness of this team is really, really reliant on number 5 or number 52 and number 4 keeping going and not falling apart, not getting too much mileage on them. Because if you think you're going to hang around and then you hold on until March and then the trade deadline passes, then the wheels completely fall off because one of those guys just got nothing left to give.
Well,
I don't know. It seems
I'll
like
say
a weird
two
setup.
things. One, I don't care about the competitiveness of the team this year. I have fully accepted that they're not going to be very good. I'm pleasantly surprised with what they've done up until now. But my issue with Pahal is I want to see what his upper edge or his upper limit is. They got him for free off of waivers, and he was sort of just a 7th defenseman type. He's done very well as a third pairing defenseman. He's been relatively sheltered, but the regular person in that pairing. So I want to know, can this guy be a top 4 defenseman? Because that would be just interesting to know for the team moving forward, right? So as a coach in this position, I'm experimenting this year. I want to see what I got, because I don't think we're going to win anything anyways.
I think folks, you're going to be like, oh, Jesus, Ryan, you're talking about the upside of a losing streak. The upside of a losing streak is that after you lose a couple games, and especially now that you're running to 4, you can just do whatever you want and experiment under the guise of, well, I kept the lines and pairings the same for a week because I figured they'll get it together. They didn't get it together, so let's get weird now. I think that'd be something I'm looking forward to. I'm also really curious, Kent. So obviously, Justin Kirkland, the man they call Costco, the best value player, I would say, in the Flames system right now, because he scored many even strength points despite being a 4th line call up who only got in the NHL because Kevin Rooney suffered a head injury the first game of the season. And thankfully, Kevin Rooney's doing better. So good for you, Kevin Rooney. We're glad you're feeling better. But hopefully Justin Kirkland is available to the Flames for too long. But in a hypothetical situation where, you're Ryan Huska, I'm the medical staff, I go into you, say, hey, Kirkland's going to need a couple weeks. Who do you bring up?
Who do they? I would try Cairns, right? I mean, he's got 14 goals in the AHL now. I know that you'd be coming up into a 4th line role, but I think I'd love to start seeing some of these kids, right? If not Cairns, then Peltier, because both of those guys have scored at about a point per game, and you want to start seeing, especially Peltier at, I think, 23 years old now. You got to start knowing what you have with that player. So it'd be either one of those guys for me. Walker Duehr is like the third option.
You love Walker Duehr. I
He's doing
agree
well
with
this
you.
year.
I agree with you. Well, they got 4 guys in the top 20 in scoring, and 3 guys in the top 20 in scoring. You know, I'd say this. Cairns is a fascinating player to me. And I'd say, you know, we've seen the kind of logic on calls before where they're like, okay, case in point, last time someone got hurt, initially brought up Dryden Hunt because they were on a road trip and they weren't really going to be doing much of the lineup. So they're like, okay, if we're going to bring someone up to sit, let's just bring up Dryden Hunt, because if somebody gets a hangnail or a puck or blocks a shot or something weird happens in warm up, we can throw Dryden Hunt in and he'll be fine. And if he doesn't play, he's 28 years old. He's not going to be hurt. Dryden Hunt, bless his heart, is what he's going to be.
That's his role.
Yeah. And, you know, for him, you know, I think Dryden Hunt kind of has a very clear-eyed understanding of where he fits in the organization. And so if you throw Dryden Hunt into the 4th line, he's fine. You throw them into last year, we saw him on every line and he was fine. He was never the reason why a line didn't work. And that's the biggest compliment I'll pay for Dryden Hunt. He's basically a perfect utility player. And honestly, he does kind of the same thing in the American League and he's very good at. So he's you know, high floor, low ceiling. He is what he's going to be.
Right.
But with Cairns, it's like, okay, do you have, you know, Cairns has always sort of struggled. You know, he's in his 3rd year in pro hockey. He spent the majority of his first year in the coast, which is kind of hockey and kind of isn't. It's sort of the Wild West. It's not really structured. It's sort of watching kids play Timbits at times because of the lack of structure. Yeah. He spent last season with the Wranglers, which is good. But the biggest, I wrote his player eval for the site, and my biggest frustration with Cairns last year was, I would say, the James Neal test. If he's not scoring, does he help you? And the answer was no. He was just sort of not really engaged with what was going on if he wasn't scoring. And I can say, having seen like a dozen of the Wranglers games this year, he's better this year. But I also don't know if his skill set would really be well suited to a 4th line role, because he's not a strong checker, and Trent Cull is smart enough just to not use him in a check and roll. He doesn't kill penalties. You know, they have other guys, you know, they use, you know, Sam Morton and Clark Bishop in more defensive zone situations. They use David Silly in those kind of situations too. They have a bunch of guys that they use for tough minutes so they can give Rory Cairns the hard minute or the easy minutes. And one of those guys they use in the tough minutes is actually Jacob Pelche. So if I had to choose, I would sit down with Pelche and say, hey, we don't know if you're going to play. You want to come up for 2 weeks and sort of see how you're feeling? And, you know, that there's some training wheels on it. I keep going back and forth with that, because, like, do you want to only give him a couple weeks? Do you want to give him a situation where he can get a run of games? You know, you have Klapka you can always send down because he's waiver exempt. So I think they have some flexibility there. But that'd be the only pause I would have about bringing up Pelche. But, you know, Pelche, you know, even in the games where he doesn't score, he's noticeable, you know, doing a lot of things in all 3 zones. So I think that could work. And, like, I don't know, having an all smaller dudes 4th line of Lomberg, Rooney, Pelche could be kind of fun. Or you can put Pospisil on that line to sort of give them, you know, someone a bit surly. You know, they can do some things with it. So I don't know. It's gonna
play with it.
Yeah, you know, I'm of the mindset of, like, but again, my friend, you and I won't have to potentially worry about applying for NHL head coaching jobs in the future. And so, much like one of my favorite books/films is Moneyball, with Art Howe explaining he doesn't want to put Scott Hatteberg at first base because he's managing the team in a way he can explain in job interviews in the future. And, you know, I get it. If I was Ryan Huska, I probably wouldn't do too many bizarre things either until a certain point, and then you can get weird. I think we're at let's get weird point.
Yeah, you don't have to get too weird, right? You're right. The coach isn't going to go out and start putting Rooney on the first line, and he doesn't have to get too wacky. But let's say a Pahal sort of situation. That guy's played well, and Miramanov really hasn't. He's had ups and downs, but a lot of downs. He wasn't very good against tonight, so it's just like, let's try this.
I track healthy scratches and injury absences and stuff. So Miramanov has actually sat more often than Pahal has. Since Pahal got acquired by the Flames on waivers, Pahal has never been a healthy scratch. And that is I think the highest compliment I could pay to his game, because he's never given the coaches a reason to take him out.
Yeah.
Kent,
Let's give him a chance.
I have a tough question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot. Are we going to see you on Tuesday?
Why do you ask?
Well, you see, Tuesday night, the Calgary Flames are hosting the Columbus Blue Jackets at the palatial Scotiabank Saddledome. And while some of us will be at the Saddledome experiencing that game live and in person, Richmond's Pub will be hosting a Flames watch party at their fine establishment. And so Afterburner will be live from Richmond's Pub this coming Tuesday, December the 3rd. So come and watch the game against the Columbus Blue Jackets and then experience with your own eyes in person a live Afterburner. You need to see the energy in person if you haven't. And if you have never experienced Ryan Pinder in person, it is an experience. I would recommend showing up for, it's wing night. So you're gonna have some good wings. They have good pizza. They got drink specials, and you get to see Ryan Pinder in the wild. So I'm told he'll be, quote, on his best behavior, and then in the brackets it said whatever that means. I don't know if I was supposed to read the brackets part, but I did anyway. So just so you know, every home game,
that'll be fun.
Every Flames home game, enter to win the monthly grand prize of a VIP experience. You and a guest can win flights, hotel tickets, and spending cash to see the boys hit the ice on the road. Great food, daily specials, TVs everywhere. Richmond's is ready for game day, and they're also serving up delicious Barn Burner blondes from Origin Brewing all day at a special low price. So if it's Calgary game day, Coors Light, Coors Original, and Coors Seltzer is on special. So Richmond's Pub, sports live here. It's at 3919 Richmond Road Southwest in the heart of Glamorgan. It's in the same parking lot, Kent, as the bakery. So depending on what time the game is on a Tuesday, the bakery might still be open. On this coming Tuesday, I think the bakery's closed. I think it closes at 5 or 6. So if you come for the game, you can't, you can't go get cheese buns. You might have to make a second trip, but it's worth it. And I have to work the game. Have to. I get to work the game, and then I'll probably stop by because it's literally on my drive home. So I'll be tired and cranky, but I will say hello to anyone who wants to say hello. Also, I kind of want to see what condition Pinder is.
Yeah. Is it Boomer as well?
I think all three of them are expected to be there. I cannot confirm, but that is what I'm expecting. So also folks, cheap plug. Our dear friend Jeff Merrick has joined the network. We're all very excited about this. Jeff's show starts on Monday. It is 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Calgary time on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. Check it out. It's called The Sheet. Your best bet. I'm not telling anyone how to consume content, except I will make the recommendations of what I will be doing. You can watch Barn Burner at its regular time and then go get some snacks and then come back and then throw on Jeff's show. And so you can pretend to work all you want, but your ears will know what you're really doing. I recommend, just move your hands around on your keyboard. Your boss won't know anything. That's, Kent and I are all pros at this, considering that we ran a relatively successful business out of our garages and spare bedrooms for, I don't remember how many years we've done that. But anyway, folks.
See, that was working for us though. So
it did.
I mean, the job. So
yeah, we've never been yelled at by anyone who didn't work for a place that was okay with yelling at us. So, Kent, how are we doing? I think we got some Bet365 business to take care of, but also, Yasmin, do we have any good questions? I know our folks in the comments, I know everyone's probably kind of bummed out by the week/road trip, but if you've got questions for Kent or I, folks, please jump them in there. All right. I will read questions, Kent, and you can answer first. This is from Cannon Trader Inc. Same program as the same program as last season. Which players do you think will get traded by this year's trade deadline?
Still Vladar, I think, has to go. It just makes too much sense. Kuzmenko, if he can get anything for him at this point, is definitely going to go. Might just be a bag of pucks, given one goal so far this season. Maybe he has a better second half. Who knows? But those are, I think, the two guarantees.
I know teams like Death. Do you think they can get anything for Hanley? Like, I mean, Hanley's solid. He's just not sexy.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that sort of late rounder. Might as well put him on the auction block. That's for sure.
We've seen what the Flames can do with late round picks. They got Luke friggin' Misa at 150th overall in the 5th round. So I mean,
where'd they get Dustin Wolf?
Yeah, you got Dustin Wolf. They got as a throw-in pick in the. Okay, do you remember what trade the Flames got?
No,
it was the Eddie Lack trade. They got Eddie Lack, Connor Murphy, who they bought out immediately after. Was it Connor Murphy or Ryan Murphy? One of the Murphys.
Ryan
Murphy. Yeah. Oh yeah, because that was the day after they bought out Murphy and Lance Boma all in one go.
That's right.
That was a weird summer. But yeah, they got Eddie Lack to be the backup, and then they got a 7th round pick in the trade. And going the other way were a 6th rounder, Keegan Kanzig, and I forget what else.
Someone acquired Keegan Kanzig.
The Carolina Hurricanes had him for the minor league team. But yeah, I agree with you, Ken. I think Kuzmenko, they got plenty of time to get the power play going, and I think if he can get going offensively, I think it'd be worse if he started off hot and then went ice cold in like January, because then you have to convince teams that he can't get going. But I agree with you.
I think he has to get hot later if he continues doing this. It's gonna be a tough
that's the challenge. But if it was easy, it'd be NHL 24, and we'd all look like geniuses. What else we got from Yuri? I'm going to say it both ways, so one of them might be right. Question for both guys. To get away from the team for a sec, how do you both watch the games? Home theater, multiple screens, laptop out checking stats, etc. Describe your experience. Ken, how do you watch games?
Laptop these days. Yeah. Because I'm, always checking other stuff. I have the Discord server that I'm commenting on. And it's just like, I just put some headphones on and, go that way.
Yeah, I do TV and laptop. I've made the Flames analytics team always teases me about this. I am that guy. I watch NHL games in person with a laptop with several spreadsheets open because there's things I track and sort of have like a notepad sketching down notes and things like that. So if you ever, I would say the people who fascinate me, John Abbott from Sportsnet, the new play-by-play voice on the TV, he showed me his notes for his broadcast notes, sort of, because all the broadcasters have sort of the notes for each individual player in each team. They're fascinating. I'm utterly excited for anyone to show me how they organize their notes, because I have a system and I don't like it, but it's better than what I had before, which was no system. But yeah, right now I just use a series of spreadsheets and a TV with reasonable resolution. But yeah. So, what else we got? That was a good question. I like that. From Seth Carson, how many points would Kuzmenko need to score to be worth something at the trade deadline? I'll say this: if someone loves you, you're always worth something. And if a hockey man loves an attribute that people think you have, there's always going to be value for you at the trade deadline. Do you think there's a number?
I don't think there's like a total. I think it'll be more about the trend, especially after this miserable first half he's about to have. So if he ends up with 1 goal in 40 games and then has 10 or 15, in January, February, that's sellable, I think. But if he has another quarter or two where he's getting 1 goal, that's where it starts getting ugly.
Yeah, I think the nice thing for him is he's at least generating stuff. Like you got to imagine, like if you're Craig Conroy, as long as his play is allowing you to pull something resembling reality and using that as, it's like, I know folks are, the old ha 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 joke is expected by whom, ha ha ha, for expected goals, but it is something that that different teams use. They all have sort of their own formula for what you would expect, and teams look for value by identifying players that have high expected goals but just terrible shooting metrics because, it's not like you suddenly forgot how to shoot. That usually just says that you're gripping the stick or there's voodoo going on or some kind of chicanery, but typically those kind of things. So I agree. I don't think there's a number, but I also think you kind of want him to get on a heater, especially on the power play. He's a specialist and he's going to be sold as a specialist, but you want some team to imagine that there's a fit there. What else?
Exactly.
Richard Teraoka? I hope I got that right. At what point will Huska look at his coaching staff and make changes to turn the team around?
I mean, I'm sure they're trying to optimize the team every day, right? It's you only have the horses that you have, right? This is the roster that they have. I think the team has mostly played as well as you could expect this roster to play. There's, tonight was not great. Hasn't been a great road trip, obviously, but up until the last 4 games, they hit first in the Pacific. I think before this road trip, or tied for first.
They were a point out of first. I think they were in first place for 3 hours, but it's still 3 more hours than anyone expected them to be in first place.
Right. So it's just my expectation for this team is way below what they've managed so far. Now it's been on the back of some extremely good goaltending, to be sure, but as you said, at the start of the show, they have been pretty stingy at even, especially at even strength and defensively, right? And I think the offense will come again. I don't think the team is actually quite this bad because this is, I think, 22 games with 3 goals or less, which is gotta be
the third game
record,
of the season,
right?
was the last time they scored a certain amount of goals. So it's been
right. So they're probably not this bad, but it's just not. This is a bottom 5, bottom 10 roster, and I think they've been coached about as well as they can be to this stage.
I think their expected goals right now, they're around the 18 to 20th mark, depending on the game.
Model.
I think they've had a kind of a bad road trip, so I think they slid down a little bit. Their power play is about average. It went on a heater to get to flirting with average. I think the thing that you look at and go, maybe it should be a bit better is the penalty kill, but you also lost Lindholm and Hanifin and Tanev, who are big pieces. Rooney was sort of, out of rotation for a bit because of an injury, and he's starting to get back into it. So, I mean, you got the guys you have to work with, right?
Yeah. It is what it is.
What else we got? I like these questions. Boys, any chance the Maple Laughs would want to trade for Nazem Kadri? There was a rumor, Kent. I believe I'm gonna pick on Doug McLean because Doug McLean was on the Kipper and Bourne show in Toronto and pondered if the Leafs would want to be looking at someone like Nazem Kadri to be. I think the term was their third line center. The Leafs, amongst all the other teams in the NHL, want to have more defensive depth and more center depth, and so Nazem Kadri is a name that's out there. I don't know how that would work with a $7 million cap hit that lasts until this is year 2 of 7. So he's got 5 left after this one. I think that's right. Or is this 3 of 7? Right. I forget. He's got a long time left.
3. Yeah. But the contract is just so hard to move, right? Especially for a team like Toronto, who is not swimming in a cap room, right? So what do? Do you eat half of it? Do you take back bad money? They don't even have a lot to trade, quite frankly, in terms of assets that the Flames would want. Maybe do they have a first round pick anytime soon?
I don't remember.
So it's a tough trade to make.
And every first round pick traded these days has some sort of weird condition, and I don't want to have to update my spreadsheet.
Yeah. I'm sure Treliving would like to have Kadri, but the logistics of the entire situation make it extremely difficult to pull off.
Yeah. Let's do one more question, and then we'll take care of some business. Another one from Richard. This dump and chase style hockey isn't working. Why won't Huska change up zone entry styles? Is this what's best to the players' abilities?
I'd say so.
Yeah, this is, Richard, I know this will be an unsatisfying answer, but they are who they are. They have what they have, and I would say they have some guys. I will pick on gentlemen named Zari and Coronado, who are quite good at playing with speed. So I think we've seen, especially on the power play, that they're able to make those kind of entries and zip around. But I would say a lot of these guys, they're more adept at retrievals, and especially at 5-on-5, teams are pretty good at suppressing. So you kind of have to do the chip and chase stuff and rely on your Colemans and your, Pospisols and whatnot to retrieve. So
Zari's a great zone entry machine. I think he'll get better at it over time. But you're right. The other thing is they do play, a low risk game. Like that's how they keep shots and chances down, and the coaching staff has reasoned that this is the best chance they have to win, and that's probably true because they don't have the horses to go toe to toe offensively with most teams.
Kent, you want to see something cool?
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is going to be our Alberta Blue Cross meaningful moment of the week, a presentation of Alberta Blue Cross, and we've got something cool that the Calgary Flames shared on social media earlier this weekend. The Flames, obviously, they played for the first time in Columbus on Friday afternoon. The first time the Flames and the Blue Jackets have met since the tragic passing of Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. And Dan Vladar, one of the Flames goaltenders, had a really cool tribute to the brothers.
So the inspiration was pretty obvious. I just wanted to do something to tribute Johnny and Matthew. Obviously, Johnny, a really good friend of us, and we all miss the boys a lot. So this was an idea of mine and Deepo, our equipment manager, and then I got in touch with Meredith, and so she basically sent me the picture, same as Madeline here. So picture of the guys on both sides, and then the Doves up top are here to represent the boys. So it's just something little that I wanted to tribute them, and as I said, I miss them a lot, and I'm gonna wear this mask for today's game and to game against Columbus at home, and then it's gonna go to the Flames Foundation for auction. So whoever's interested, please go for it. And as I said, miss those guys a lot. I mean, it means a lot for every single guy in this locker room, and I'm pretty sure every single hockey player that touched our hearts. So whoever's gonna get it, please take care of it.
That's really cool. I'll give a shout out to the mask designer is Fried Designs. Basically, the word fried and the word designs, but they share the same D. I don't know how to say it, but if you go to their website, frieddesigns.com, they have all kinds of details about all the mask art they do. I think that's really cool. I think Dustin Wolf also has a tribute to Johnny Gaudreau on one of his masks, and I think it's a really nice thing, and sort of a nice way of sort of keeping them in everyone's minds during what's definitely, to say the very least, a really challenging time for both the Flames and the Blue Jackets, and most of all the Gaudreau family.
Yeah, it's good to see, and it's hard to move on from something like that, but little gestures like this hopefully help.
Yeah, so that's our meaningful moment of the week from Alberta Blue Cross. If you're planning a trip, make sure to remember to pack travel insurance from Alberta Blue Cross. When you've got Canada's most trusted travel insurance in your back pocket, you can focus on making the right kind of memories while you're away. So visit ab.bluecross.ca/travel for more information. So this will transition into the late stages of this fine program, and we'll look at some fun odds from Bet365. Again, Bet365, they partner with all of our shows. We are big fans of them and the work. So if you have not signed up, download the app and use code NATION when you sign up. That way they know who sent you, and they'll send some love our way. Cool. So here's some the last, we had a super busy Wednesday in the National Hockey League. Kent. Thursday, everyone was off. It was kind of boring because those damn Americans took over and everyone got the day off. So we watched football instead. Friday, busy day. Saturday, another busy day. So it's not quite as bad on Sunday, but there's still some interesting games going on. The Flames just saw the Detroit Red Wings in Detroit. So the Vancouver Canucks are in town. The Vancouver Canucks, Kent's favorite team, are a betting favorite, a slight betting favorite in Detroit. The aforementioned Columbus Blue Jackets are visiting the United Center to face Chicago. That one is pretty much a coin toss. The Montreal, here's a classic: Montreal in Boston to face the Bruins. The Bruins have had a not great year.
A rough go.
Yeah. I mean, you go out and you get Zadorov, and you go out and you get Elias Lindholm and a lot of these other guys that you hope you'd be getting. And then it hasn't really worked out the way they hoped, but they're still a fairly significant favorite at home over the Habs. So if you are a big fan of the Bleu Blanc et Rouge, there's not bad odds for an upset. That one's got some value. A hell of a game in the afternoon, Winnipeg and Dallas. That's going to be fun. I would be nervous about betting on that one because I like both teams. I only bet on games where I hate both teams, so I don't really gamble at all because I have nothing but love in my heart for all 32 teams. 31. I'm not going to tell you which teams I don't love, but I love them all somewhat equally. And then another game in the late game, Ottawa and the Anaheim Ducks at the palatial Arrowhead Pond in whatever the hell it's called, Honda Center. It's always going to be the Arrowhead Pond to me. I've been fortunate enough to visit several National Hockey League buildings and somehow get paid for it. Anaheim is one of them. It's a fun building, but it's shown his age. They might be getting a please give me money to replace this arena soon, because I think they're doing some redevelopment in the Honda Center area. But the city of Anaheim, as Disney will tell you, is not high on giving people free money to build stuff. So we'll see. But there's some value there. So if you are inclined to do that kind of business, use Code Nation and tell them we sent you. Kent, this will be a busy few days for the Flames. I think they have an off day tomorrow. Then they practice Monday. Hopefully, we might see some lines, and then they got the Tuesday game. So that'll be kind of fun. I think. Yasmin, do we have the road ahead graphic? I love that graphic. Before we go, we'll tee up what Flames related stuff is coming up. Oh, I love this graphic.
There we go.
So this is deceptive, and let me tell you why. We only show the next 5 games, and also Cammy's in the chat. Everyone say hi to Cammy. Good. Kent, you're not saying hi to Cammy? Can't believe you don't like Cammy. I'm bored now, so I'm just trying to start Faceoff team people. Tuesday, Flames are at home to face the Columbus Blue Jackets. If you're not going to the game, go to Richmond and say hi to Pinder, but keep your distance because he needs room for his high kicks. Thursday, Flames are at home again. They will host the St. Louis Blues. Then Flames go on the road again for 2 quick games. They're playing in Dallas, a city that for some reason the Flames always play pretty well on. I have no idea why, but stylistically the Flames in Dallas always match up well. The game's usually really good. And let's be honest, we've seen the Flames play Dallas twice in the playoffs the last few years, and they were surprisingly great series. So I have high expectations for that Sunday game. It's a 6:00 start. And then a quick one and done in Nashville, so they won't be able to get in too much trouble in Nashville. If you ever get a chance to do a road game in Nashville, do it because that's a fun city. And then the Flames are back to face the 2004 and probably other years too. I forget Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. Another team the Flames always seem to have really entertaining games with. It's at the very least you're hoping it's kind of a high scoring game, but the Flames,
that would be nice.
The Flames have these 2 road games next Sunday and next Tuesday, and that's it for road games between now and the Christmas break. They have 7 games coming up. I believe actually they have 9 games coming up, and 7 are at home between now and Christmas. So a lot of home games. So if you haven't got a chance to go down to the Dome, you have someone who's giving you tickets. Maybe you have tickets. Maybe you want to check out a game. I'll give them a cheap plug. Most of the renovations in the area are done. The only construction project currently going is a little thing they call Scotia Place that will be allegedly a place where a couple teams play hockey. 2 or 3 or 5 teams, however many teams are in the city now, will play hockey. But yeah, so that's Kent, do you have anything else before we say good evening?
Nope. Let's just pray for some goals on the menu coming up here. That would be nice.
At least they didn't get shut out.
But just 4 goals in one game. That's what I'm going to ask for.
This is what Kent's going to ask for Christmas. 4 goals in the game.
Right. 4
at
goals
least once between now and Christmas.
By the Flames, not the opposition, the Flames.
Okay, that's a good detail. So we'll send that note to Santa once the postal strike is over.
Thank you. Yeah, let's do that.
And on that note, that's all we got from our beautiful remote taping locations. I'm Ryan. He's Kent. For us and our amazing producer, Yasmin, thank you everyone so much for joining us. This has been Afterburner. Remember, Barn Burner back at its normal time, like always, slightly after 10 a.m. on Monday. And also on Monday, cheap plug, our dear friend Jeff Merrick's new show, The Sheet, debuts at 1 p.m. Mountain Time on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. Check it out. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys, and we'll see you on Monday.